June 24, 2023 was not just an election day in Sierra Leone, it was a rupture. Ballots were cast, results were declared, but certainty never arrived. What followed was not a closure, but silence, broken only by whispers of irregularities, a stern opposition, and a nation forced to move on without answers. In the echoes of disputed ballot, Sierra Leone after June 24, we go beyond headlines and official statement to examine what really happens when elections are won but trust is lost. Why did allegations never reach the court? Was the opposition's boycott an act of principle or a failure of a democratic duty? And did the so-called tripartite agreement heal the nation or merely freeze a deeper crisis in place? This is not a story about winners and losers. It is a story about legitimacy, power, and the long shadow of unresolved elections cast over governance, stability, and the road to 2028. Because when ballots are disputed and accountability is deferred, democracy does not end, it echoes.
Tonight, we revisit what happened after the vote, the allegations, the silence, the boycott, and the uneasy compromise that followed. This is the echo of disputed ballots.
Hereby certifying that Bill Julius Mada, having polled 1,566,932 of the valid vote cast, representing 56.17% of the total valid vote cast in the 24th June 2023 presidential election, duly elected President of the Republic.
Supporters said the court couldn't be trusted, but others argue that legal action will legitimize a flawed process. Critics were blunt. They call it a missed opportunity. But because the court do not just declare winners, they were forced to prove evidence in an open. They create records. They establish accountability. Without that process, the dispute remains suspended, unproven, and unsolved. All what the opposition parties in Sierra Leone could say was a boycott. For nearly 3 months, the lawmakers stay away from parliament. Was it pressure or surrender? Eventually, the compromise emerged. They established what they call tripartite.
I'd like to start by reaffirming the APC's total rejection of the skewed, manipulated, and unverified 60% partial elections results as announced by Mr. Mohamed Kone, Chief Electoral Commissioner. My fellow citizens, over the last 5 days, the Electoral Commission for Sierra Leone, ECSL, under the leadership of Mr. Mohamed Kone, has demonstrated a total lack of transparency and accountability in the critical stages of our electoral process. Of particular significance, Mr. Kone's handling of the tallying process flouts even the barest minimum of international best practice, dangerously undermining the peace and stability of our beloved nation. As we noted in our press releases of 26th of June 2023, condemning the skewed manner Mr. Kone presented the results of the so-called 60% polling stations tallied, the APC continues to reject Mr. Kone's lack of inclusivity, transparency, and accountability. 24, majority of Sierra Leoneans have clearly demonstrated that they cannot endure 5 more years of intimidation, oppression, violence, and economic hardship. The defense of democracy should go beyond the current endeavors in order to salvage this brazen attempt to topple democracy. I express my profound condolences to the families of all our compatriots whose lives have been taken and those who have been maimed in standing up in defense of democracy. You did not deserve this.
And that our individual differences and interests must have a common place in our shared national interest. We could recall that following my re-election in June 2023 this year, and the post-election concerns raised about the conduct of the multi-tier elections, I proposed the setting up of a National Electoral Systems Review Committee with a view to strengthen the institutional, legal, and operational regime for future elections.
And hovering over everything is a rivalry that defends modern Sierra Leonean politics. On one side, Julius Maada Bio, the incumbent, and with state power institution control. On the other, Samoa Kamara, the challenger, technocrat, veteran, and a symbol of grievance.
The dialogue not to court. The dialogue therefore not to look for can court case. But when it take on to adjourn, we will make and solve our problems and go forward.
Thank you so much for talking. All right, so that not been the.
We will. It's a big moment for the country, and I think I'm happy they've stepped up to the plate. I think we are very positive. They are very positive. The fact that they are great. It's not a loss if they come to Parliament. I know I made the opposition member there, made them say, "Oh, APC don't lose." So this it's not a loss. It's not a win for us if they come to Parliament. Sierra Leone wins when they can participate, and I think that's the most important message. Is that my APC headline and not say, "Oh, then don't somewhere don't go this, somewhere don't do that." Oh, then don't go allowed. No, we want there to be a fully comprehensive government running.
Sierra Leone did not collapse after June 24, but it did not heal either. The ballots were counted. The agreement was signed. The political class moved on, but the questions remain unanswered, uninvestigated, unresolved. And in a democracy, unresolved questions do not disappear. They accumulate. What happens when elections produce governments, but not consent? When stability is declared, yet trust is absent? When accountability is postponed in the name of peace? As the 2028 approaches, Sierra Leone stands at a crossroads. One path leads to reform, transparency, and the courage to confront uncomfortable truth. The other leads to repetition, another election, another dispute, another agreement, another generation taught to lower its expectations. This commentary is not an accusation. It's a record, a warning, and an invitation. Because democracy does not survive on ballots alone. It survives on truth, accountability, and the willingness to confront the past before asking the future to believe again. The echoes are still here. The question is whether Sierra Leone will finally listen. Sierra Leone did not collapse after June 24, but it did not heal either. The ballots were counted. The agreement was signed. The political class moved on, but the questions remain unanswered, uninvestigated, unresolved. And in a democracy, unresolved questions do not disappear. They accumulate. What happens when elections produce governments, but not consent? When stability is declared, yet trust is absent? When accountability is postponed in the name of peace? As the 2028 approaches, Sierra Leone stands at a crossroads. One path leads to reform, transparency, and the courage to confront uncomfortable truth. The order leads to repetition, another election, another dispute, another agreement, another generation taught to lower its expectations. This commentary is not an accusation. It's a record, a warning, and an invitation. Because democracy does not survive on ballots alone. It survives on truth, accountability, and the willingness to confront the past before asking the future to believe again. The echoes are still here. The question is whether Sierra Leone will finally listen.